let's call the meeting to order. Consent agenda and previous minutes. Anybody have any questions or discussion? Hearing none, would anybody like to make a motion to approve?
I'll make the motion.
Motion made by Rick. So Polly,
Aye.
Amy,
Aye.
Rick,
Aye.
Mort,
Aye.
Sarah,
Aye.
and myself. Motion carries. Visitors, I see Lisa Hango.
I'm just here to listen for a little bit, like an hour, and then I need to leave, but thank you for letting me do so.
Okay. And John Gottfried.
I just wanted to watch the slideshow that Kelly was going to present.
Okay, perfect. So next up is School Spotlight. Kelly, you're listed first on my sheet.
Sorry about that. Okay. I just need to, hold on. Maybe just a second. So I have Leslie Dumas, who is going to be joining. In true Northeast Kingdom fashion, we're having internet issues. So she is in the parking lot somewhere trying to gain access to internet and trying to not let her old school computer die at the same time. So she's going to be joining. She's going to be trying the, oh, there she is. So I'm just going to introduce what we're doing. I knew I was presenting in June, and I thought after the year that we've had, I really wanted this to be a presentation of a celebration of what we've been doing, because it's been pretty easy to focus on the things that have not been quite so celebratory. So I asked teachers what they really wanted to do, and they started sending pictures and videos, and Leslie put together a video of, or a slideshow of a few videos and some pictures of what we've been doing mostly this past spring. So this is really hands-on in this year, in a hands-off kind of year. So take it away, Leslie.
All right, let me share my screen.
While she's doing that, yep. So while she's doing that, these are some of the things that, well, you're going to get a chance to see, but we've done everything from hatch chickens to take down the old pirate ship that was behind the school. So kids were, using tools, a lot of just getting outside as much as we possibly could. So a lot of outdoor learning. Go ahead, Leslie.
Hold on here, people. You're in the way of my thing. There we go.
You see a rapper? Loki. Is there supposed to be rappers out here in HR? No, clean it up. Clean up, green up.
So that's just a culmination of a number of things that we've done over the course of the year, a lot of it this spring particularly. So, you know, the pirate ship is something that the kids no longer can use. And our fourth grade teacher decided that she really wanted to do a project-based learning unit. And so she incorporated a lot of math into this project, and they took apart the pirate ship and have repurposed it to make some other things. So we're gonna have a gaga pit. They've made bird houses. It's not completely down yet because there was a bird's nest in there. And Leslie has a picture of that in there. And in first grade, we hatched chicks and we still have them. And so Leslie also partnered with Jay Westfield School, and the students got to share their learning and their knowledge and the hatching of it with the kindergartners over there. And so they sort of zoomed in with them and got to share their learning around that. And, you know, just a lot of outdoor learning. Our PE teacher is taking kids outside as much as he possibly could, particularly all winter, and then did a lot with Green Up. And then our kindergarten classes also just work with the kids on the Green Up. And a lot of stuff going on in pre-K, from, you know, playing with worms, learning about worms, to butterfly hatching, to visiting Parsons Farm and visiting the lambs. So, you know, there's been a lot of good stuff that has been happening. And I think that, you know, it's been kind of neat to be able to look back and see some of these things. And it's really easy to focus on, you know, how hard a lot of the year has been, but it's been great to also just see how, you know, happy some of those faces are, you know, when we get to get outside particularly, and when they get that real hands-on learning. So I definitely want to thank Leslie for pulling this together. This was a multi-hour project. And then, like I said, when we started, you know, running into internet issues at the end. So if there's any questions, feel free to ask.
I think it was fantastic. I love that you could see the smile underneath the mask on several of the kids.
Yeah.
That's what stood out to me too, Kevin. Like in this year of, there's so many rules and restrictions and plans we had to put into place. It's so nice to be able to see how engaged those students were and so how happy they were in those activities. So I applaud your staff in being able to find really creative ways to still find, you know, all of those ways to keep them excited and engaged in the learning. And Leslie, that's dedication to sit in your car at almost 6 o'clock and do this for us. So we appreciate you putting this together and coming out to make sure that we could see it. So thank you both.
You're welcome.
And the
Yes,
night
thank you
before
both.
scorecards are due. So it is
Oh
definitely.
boy.
And yes, I do want to applaud the staff. Like, we have an amazing staff here at the elementary school, and they have worked incredibly hard to make learning as engaging as they possibly could this year for kids. People have worked hard. So,
Great,
thanks.
thank you both.
Thanks, Leslie.
And now Beth.
You're muted, Beth.
Sorry, I was talking away to you and I was muted. Are you seeing Richford Middle School Spotlight? Is that what
Yes.
you're seeing? Okay. Okay, so just to give you a little history, last year we learned that students weren't as independent as we thought they were. And so our mission this year has been working on executive functioning skills and developing more independent learners. So for the past few years, we have done some project-based learning here. We did a school-wide theme of around our 100th anniversary a few years ago, but we decided we were going to go a little bit in a different route this year. So the end of each semester, we took the last week or two of the first semester, and we're currently doing it now, where students engaged in project-based learning to like prove transferable skills. So at the middle school, the 6th grade focused on, and this was at the end of the fall semester, on service-based projects in their community. And so each kid, each student really looked at how they wanted to improve their community. And the projects focused around food insecurity, recognition of first responders in the community, support of animal shelters, and they also organized a collection drive to get health and hygiene products to those in need. So this is Landon and Jeffrey, and they made birthday boxes for people at the food shelf. And so they put in like cake mixes and frosting and candles and made birthday cards to donate to the food shelf. Katie made 25 first responder bags with private thank you messages for each of them. These three made inspirational posters or encouraging posters for Richford Elementary School and Richford Middle High School. They're still hanging here in the hallways, and I hope they're still at Richford Elementary as well. Kenzie, Colton, and Abigail collected food donations for the local animal shelter, and they went to St. Albans and delivered them. Blue Seal was very, very generous. And Harley organized a coin drive for both the for the here at school and the community to donate to the Northwestern Medical Center. For the COVID relief fund. The 7th grade looked at their own learning styles and did different passion projects. You can see here on the side, there was, and I think at the top, she was repainting to make a barn quilt. And in the lower picture, they did a bridge building competition. And Chloe used SketchUp to do some designing of different buildings. 8th grade did career exploration. So each student thought about what success meant to them. And so they had the opportunity to either interview someone or research a person who they thought had been successful, or to research a career to present to their class. So Mitchell, this is Mitchell's presentation. He focused on Albert Einstein. And so he talked about what is the journey if someone is successful? What determines if someone's successful? What are the traits that make someone successful? And what skills are instrumental for success? The high school focused on guiding questions and topics. And the 9th grade just had an open question, but most of them focused on what separates humans from other animals. 10th grade, how can I promote or improve my community? 11th grade, what is a possible solution for a specific problem? And 12th grade, they did PLP capstone presentations in the form of a game show. It's not quite finished, but I'll send it out to you when it's finished to look at. I think Chris Hoyt was the host, so it'll be interesting. So here are just a few of the projects that they've done. These are spring projects for the high school students. So we needed a platform for the videographer for graduation. So one of the students made a platform. One student's painting lines. He said, we really need new lines in the parking lot because I don't know where to park. So he's laying out the parking lot and painting lines. This is one of my favorite projects. This student did a research project around how can artwork address discrimination and bias. And she created these and they are now hanging above the entry doorway for the hallway to the office. Several of the students did projects around the school, beautifying the school. So we've been doing a lot of learning outside, and some of the areas, the grass took a beating, and some of them, so this group here that is focusing on the back of the building is also building benches. And the little butterfly here, our whole hallway outside our science rooms, the students are doing paintings. There's the periodic chart and several science-based paintings. These three are on the track team and the cross-country team, and they noticed that we do not have a race here in town. And so they are organizing for the fall a 5K event to benefit the Richford Junior Senior High School Athletic Department. And this is a photograph of them, the route that they're lying out. And this student researched body image and the effects on your mental health. And then she created these are pictures of posters that she's created that we're going to print out and have framed and have here in the building. So that's the last one. These are just three examples. What I can tell you is that students can direct their own learning, and that I've never seen students so engaged at the end of a school year. They have been very engaged in the learning. So.
It's awesome, Beth. I've heard, from talking with one of your teachers pretty regularly, how excited the staff has been about exploring this executive functioning and seeing the difference in engagement with the staff. So I'm really excited to see the outcome of some of the projects they had been working on. That's great. Thank you for sharing those.
Interesting, because several of the staff members, we used an in-service day for the planning of this, and several of the staff members said, I was really afraid and worried to do this, and they've just been very, very excited about it. And so I think it's going to be a new tradition. We're going to do it the last week of each semester from now on.
Great. Thank you. Anybody have any questions or comments for Beth? Thank you, Beth. Moving on, Morgan, you're up.
Great, thank you. I think I can be quick. I have not sent out your May report yet. Franny is running payroll this week, and I wanted to wait and get that in there before I send that. As I've tipped all along, this year is going to be close due to that big loss in anticipated tuition revenue at the high school that we spoke about back in October. I did send out the tax revenue anticipation note documents to you by email. I will be looking for a motion. I do have it written in your packet, but the dollar amount is different from what I had sent out initially. The bank gives us a spreadsheet to come up with a prediction on what our needs are for cash flow during the previous year. I did that, and that generated that $1.1 million figure. And when we had conversations back and forth with the bank, we thought we could bring that down a little bit. It's unlikely that we're going to need that whole amount. So the motion that I would be looking for is to approve and authorize the chair to sign away from the table the tax revenue anticipation note and related borrowing resolution and tax certificate for a straight line credit not to exceed $800,000 with Community Bank NA to June 30th, 2022.
I'll make that motion.
Motion made by Polly. Rick?
Aye.
Amy?
Aye.
Mort?
Aye.
Sarah?
Aye.
Polly?
Aye.
And I'm an aye. Sorry, guys. Everybody shuffled around on my screen, so I'm trying to go across the screen. So motion is approved, Morgan.
And that's all I have.
Okay. Quick and painless tonight. Semi-painless. Cost a lot
You
of money.
spoke too soon,
thanks,
Kevin. I've done that before.
Yeah. Okay, no pressure, Lynn.
Yeah, that's a great setup to send no pain and then send it off to me. Let's see if I can live up to that. So I've got several things under personnel this time of year. Principals have been in a hiring frenzy. I have just lost my screen here. There we go. So I have under hiring several teachers to approve Enosburg Elementary, Leslie Thompson in pre-K. Also not in need of approval is under a support staff contract, Lyndon McAllister, the head custodian at Enosburg High School. Ethan, I'm not going to get that right. Zoiza, the band teacher. Polly, how'd I do?
Yeah.
Zoiza, okay. For band, James Wall for health at Richford Elementary, Amanda Biggs, 0.6, so 3 days a week in library. Also will be spending 2 days a week in Montgomery. Kelly and Sandy have been doing some partnering. Sonia Holmes has been hired to teach preschool, and at Richford Junior Senior High School, Heather Harder for Spanish. So look for a motion on that.
I'll make the motion.
Okay, motion made by Rick. Polly,
Aye.
Amy,
Aye.
Rick,
Aye.
Mort,
Aye.
Sarah,
Aye.
and I am an aye, so motion is approved.
So next up, we have some resignations that I'd ask the board to accept. Enosburg Elementary School, Heather Maciag, the preschool teacher, has resigned. This is just informational only, but your homeschool coordinator at Enosburg Elementary School just paid out of grant funding, so she's technically an SU employee. Celine Rindo has also resigned. For Enosburg High School, you had 2 support staff members who resigned, Joanne Foote and Barb Olavi. And at Richford Elementary, Liz Ward, the grade 5 teacher. And at Richford Junior Senior High School, Peter Govani, Spanish and Humanities, and Jennifer Lynn, this is support staff, 2 other support staff, Jennifer Lynn and Linda Marcy and Parker King. So same, I'll look for a motion for the professional resignations.
I'll make that motion. Polly,
Aye.
Rick,
Aye.
Amy,
Aye.
Sarah,
Aye.
Mort,
Aye.
and I'm an aye, so that motion carries.
So under retirements, I just mistakenly had Linda Marcy under resignation. It really should have been retirement. So Linda is a paraeducator, and she's been with Richford for I think it's 30+ years. Beth, do you have that number by chance?
I think it's like 27.
Okay, so a long time. So she's decided not to return after this year. She's going to retire. She has missed the retirement notification deadline. I know in another circumstance in the other district, they did waive that for this year due to the unique circumstance of the pandemic. So I'm going to ask if the board wants to consider extending the retirement benefit to Linda.
I would make the motion to extend it. I think in this particular year, and given somebody who's given that much time to this district, absolutely.
I 100% agree with you, Polly. I
I
would.
agree.
So motion made by Polly, unless there's more discussion. Rick,
Aye.
Amy,
Aye.
Mort,
Aye.
Sarah,
Aye.
Polly,
Aye.
and I'm an aye.
Thank you. You still have some remaining open positions. Enosburg High School is looking for a PE teacher, an anticipated PE teacher. Richford Elementary School, kindergarten, and they're also looking for an LNA/paraeducator. Richford Junior Senior High School is looking for a custodian. So those are your remaining positions. Your principals have these schools in good shape at this point in the year. So that's where you're at there. I do have one other thing under personnel, but I wouldn't mind saving it until the end. It's going to be under executive. Is that okay, Kevin?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay. I have nothing under student at this time. I do have, earlier today, I sent you an email that included the FNESU pandemic response plan summary. So I'm going to give you a broad overview of what our thinking was. I shared with you the phase 1 piece, which was really around the data inventory. This phase 2 is the higher level brushstroke of what strategies we have put into place in our response plan. So this is the draft. This is a multi-year plan. So we have the ability to make amendments along the way. So it is very likely that we will be adding things in and deciding to move in a different direction from some of the strategies that we have in there now. It's a heavy lift, has been a heavy lift, and we've taken this responsibility very seriously to try to create a system and structures so that the impact of this is felt beyond this point in time, that it really does truly impact students both now and down the road. Just an overview of each of the 3 buckets that we introduced to you. So I'll start with social emotional learning, mental health, and well-being. So one of the things that we identified was that teachers really have expressed that there isn't any training that you get when you come out of college, and we haven't provided any training about how to explicitly teach social emotional learning skills. So one of the strategies that we're going to employ is that we're going to purchase a program called Zones of Regulation. And we're going to train our teachers to be able to have that tool readily available to them so that they express that interest and desire to teach those skills, but they just don't know how. We also found value in some of the SEL screeners that we used this year. That was in some of the data that we shared with you under phase 1. So we're going to be purchasing those screeners so we'll be able to have a better sense of where our kids are in terms of their own mental health at any given point. We're also going to be purchasing some instructional materials that we can use to provide both first instruction in SEL, but then also some intervention in SEL as well. One of the things that we had with Nick, Nick was our SEL coordinator, and he has resigned, Nick DeVita. So we know we're going to need someone to take on part of that role in terms of SEL coordination. So we're leaning into that because we really want to finish the work he had started with the SEL priority standards and this work around the new tools for teachers. So someone will be leaning into that work. Beth had a really good segue about the importance of teaching executive functioning skills with kids. And that's something that we're also going to lean into in terms of our response plan. And then part of the mandate at the state level is that the coordination of educational support teams, those all generally happen at the school level, and the coordination needs to happen at the SU level now. So there'll still be school level EST processes, but there's going to be an SU level of coordination around that. The hopes is that it will streamline the processes in the schools. So we're kind of all over the place right now, and I think that's pretty common throughout the state. So I'm sure that's why they added that in there. The other piece is just looking at the data that we uncovered and discovering that we had some inequality in terms of resources available to students depending on which school you're in. So we have some strategies embedded in there to make more equitable resources available. So the other piece is around expanding the STEP program that we currently have at Richford High School and piloting a program at Richford Elementary School that would be in partnership with Enosburg Elementary School, so that students who have significant cognitive developmental delays would have access to a higher level programming opportunity right embedded in the public school. The other piece is around homeschool coordination. We've had a homeschool coordinator in some of our schools, I think mostly Sheldon and Enosburg Elementary School. We're really looking at expanding the definition of that and making it a little more proactive and centered on engaging families and students in advance of there being an issue around attendance and access to school. So We're going to expand that a little bit. So instead of the Enosburg Elementary family engagement coordinator being centered there, they'll be focused on Enosburg. With this money, we're going to hire someone who can do the same work in Richford and split time between the two schools. And then another person who can be focused on being that family engagement coordinator in the other 4 smaller schools, the NMB schools. Next is the focus on engagement with learning, family engagement, and school truancy prevention. So we are going to have some more collaboration at the county level. We're still in the design process of what that's going to exactly look like, but we know that there's going to be more collaborative work. Those family engagement specialists, we're hoping that we can create a countywide cohort so that they can have some support in the role and they can help to serve to improve the capacity of the truancy intervention panel that currently exists, that Rachel is currently our representative on that. So the other piece of that I think is important is that thinking about the educational support team plans as a place for us to be creating some proactive attendance plans with our students. We know that through the pandemic, our families have felt disengaged from schools because they haven't been able to be physically present in schools for 16 months now. So we're definitely exploring ways that we can both provide resources for families and get families back into the schools. One of the things that we're waiting on is we want more information about recent legislation that has been approved around this community schools concept. We think there's going to be a grant opportunity there to be able to partner with mental health, primary care, and other providers to get more resources into the school for families to be able to access in community. So that's one of the strategies that we're thinking about. We know we need more work around engaging families around our homeschool partnership and then the personalized learning plan process. We also want to continue on with our student-led conferences, which we weren't able to do this year, and go back to celebrating learning and inviting families in to do that through exhibitions of learning and in other events as well. The other piece that we've talked about is engaging students beyond the school day and beyond the school year and increasing some of the summer programming offerings that we've had in the past. So we've expanded that summer program and we've looked at how can we provide more engaging opportunities for students. And part of that has been in collaborating across towns to be able to do that. So we have embedded some transportation into our summer plan in order to be able to make that happen. I think at this point, where we are with the plan is it's mostly at the middle high school level. We're also going to spend some of this money on creating or purchasing some materials for highly engaging activities with the students centered on STEAM opportunities. I don't know that she's completely finalized which resources she'll be purchasing, but the intention is that they'll be highly engaging. I won't go through all the rest of this because you've already learned about some of these pieces. We want to make sure that we're focusing some of our professional learning opportunities around student-centered learning structures. And we've talked through a lot of this with you already. So this is in alignment. It's not something new. It's in alignment with some of the work that we've already been doing through the Portrait of a Graduate work, continuing to try to offer that virtual learning option for students, where we've had a meeting now with the agency and we're waiting for some information back to see if our program is going to get approved. And we've just listed out in the plan some other opportunities for professional learning that we're going to offer to our teachers as we move forward from here. We're going to increase our farm to school partnership, and we're going to create a student advisory council as well to help allow students to have an opportunity to inform some of these decisions as well. The board has also been engaged in conversations about our diversity, equity, and inclusion work that we've been doing in the supervisory union. We know that we have been able to hire a director for that position, and we're funding that through this money. We have plans to do audits, and we'll be able to bring that data to you. And then we'll be able to take that data to create a multi-year plan so that we'll be able to center the annual reports that we do with the board on the pre-assessment and then the post-assessment based on the work we're doing. So we're excited about continuing on that path. We are going to be looking at our curriculum and library materials that are available to our students to make sure that a diverse array of voices and people are represented in those materials. And we are also going to be participating in a multi-year leadership and inclusive education project through the Vermont Superintendents Association and through Novak Education. We're very excited about that. I think we have a team of 15 that will be attending and doing that work. In terms of academic proficiency, this is centered on, I think, 5 big ideas. The first is focusing on improving our professional learning community team effectiveness. So we're partnering with Solution Tree to really lean into the importance of having really highly effective teacher team meetings throughout the year that are centered on the right things. If we can get them centered on the right things, we can expect to see an impact on student learning. If we can get them, we need to go back to where we originally started. We've had so much turnover, it has been hard to sustain those efforts. So we're reorienting in that way. In terms of our MTSS work, we're going to be purchasing, you got a presentation last month from Jen Hubbard about the STAR 360 toolkit. I think she talked about both literacy and math. So we're going to be purchasing that. We're also going to be purchasing the data management system, which has been a hole in our reporting system for quite some time. So we've been able to fund that through this, and then providing training for staff so that we can use those really well. We also, I think we addressed this above as well in terms of making sure that we have someone focused on EST coordination at the SU level. And one of the pieces in our MTSS system that we haven't been great about is not only we need to be using the data at the school level with teacher teams, but we also want to make sure that we're providing opportunities for teachers across schools to be having conversations about the data. So having like grade level teachers meeting and discussing student learning data, bringing some of that learning to the table, and also giving principals the opportunity to talk with one another about that student learning data. An intense focus of ours is increasing the reading proficiency level for our students. So we have several strategies in place to increase proficiency centered around foundational skills, providing professional learning, looking at the assessments that we use for literacy, and our programs that we're using. We're also looking at that, the units of study. Purchasing an SU-wide word study, spelling vocabulary instructional resource. That's been a missing piece for us, and then providing the professional learning that those teachers need. There are also resources that the teachers have been missing because frankly, they're very expensive, and they're things that we haven't had the capacity to purchase before. So we'll be able to purchase those high-low libraries, so students that are way above grade level or way below grade level will be able to have access to materials that are the same content that everyone's learning about, but at their own instructional level, which is really valuable and important. And then we're going to be, we're thinking forward to, if we're going to invest all of this money in this learning, how do we sustain it over time? So we're going to be paying some of our teachers to create professional learning modules from the work that we're doing each year so that we can use those to train new folks as they come on. We're also centering our work on increasing math proficiency, and we're trying to specifically target grade clusters so that we're not overwhelming people with the work that we're trying to accomplish. So we're going to be focusing on 3 through 5, grades 3 through 5, for the first 2 years, and then we'll shift that in the 3rd year to K through 2. We're going to continue a partnership that we have had with the All Learners Network, and we're going to expand the amount of work that we're doing with them. So we're very excited about that. The other piece that we're leaning into is we have not had a common middle school instructional resource. So we are going to do some professional learning around that and explore what resources are out there and see if we can adopt a resource that makes sense for us. We're also going to be focusing in on the need for us to provide professional learning around mathematics to our special educators so that they can be more effective in terms of supporting students that have goals centered around math. And we're also going to be focusing on, we've already addressed this in some way, the content teachers at the middle school, the high school, and the unified arts teachers, focusing on strands. So they would have kind of a 4-year cycle of professional learning. So they would spend 1 year going deep and learning about one of these strands. And so we're focusing on UDL, proficiency-based assessment, social emotional learning, which includes the executive functioning, and personalization. So they'll spend year 1 choosing one of those topics, and then the next year they'll go to another topic. And the hope is that, you know, if I use Beth as an example, she would have a quarter of her staff doing the professional learning around UDL and a quarter centered on each of the other strategies so that they would be able to share with one another throughout the year and hopefully learn from one another as they're doing this work. Also embedded is resource for us to be able to do this intensive professional learning with teachers both during the school year and during the summer. So we have a plan around that as well. And the, let's see what's last there. I think that is primarily, that's primarily what's included in our plan. The last pieces were around providing licensed substitute teachers so that teachers could be released from the classroom to be able to access that professional learning. And that's a strategy that we have as a goal. And we are finding that our candidate pool is pretty low right now. So we don't know that we're going to be able to fulfill that goal for this year. So I know we still have some professional positions that teachers are trying to fill within the supervisory union. And we certainly want them to do that first before we go there. So I'm wondering what questions you might have. And I also just want to remind you at the bottom of the form that I sent to you, I know this is overwhelming and it's a lot, there's a feedback form. And so we would love for you to take the opportunity to, you know, digest what you heard me say, go back in and take a look at that yourself, and then provide any feedback that you think would be helpful for us as we move closer to finalizing this draft.
Lynn, I apologize for interrupting. I'm going to leave now and go to the Village Board of Trustees. I just have one question when it was time for my principal's report. Rick Bartholomew, Amy, Polly, have you guys decided which one of you is going to come to graduation and represent the board from Enosburg Saturday? Rick, I know you were there last year. You talked about possibly wanting to be the one this year. I just need to know that because I'm printing up those programs.
Actually, I could, if Polly or Amy wanted to do it, I could beg off. If one of them, if they didn't want to do it, then or were unable to do it, then I'm certainly happy to do it. Polly, Amy.
So I have BFA graduation I have to go to, but if you were unable to do it, I could arrange, but I would actually love for you to do it. But if you're not feeling it, I'll do it.
I can see Amy is just jumping at the opportunity. I'll go ahead and do it.
You're probably more connected with that age group at this point, so your face would be more meaningful than mine. But if you get stuck, I can definitely do it.
No, I got it. I can do it.
Okay,
Perfect.
awesome. Thank you all so much. Bye.
Okay, so can I assume that there are no questions yet about the COVID response plan?
I got one question. It's not so much about the plan. I just wanted to know if anybody, any of the other superintendents, or is there any talk about year-round school?
No.
Okay.
I think there are still wounds from calendar 2.0
previous
and
okay.
calendar 3.0 efforts. And I think that if that were to come about, it would come about through the legislature. I don't think you're going to see a group that tries to advance that forward. Although I'm not opposed to that idea. I don't see that bubbling up right now.
Okay.
I don't know if Lisa maybe is hearing anything different.
I'll take that as an invitation to speak. And no, I have not heard anything in the last probably 4 years about that concept. Thank you.
I do see through like COVID and the COVID money and recovery is that they're trying to implement more summer programming, but really around engagement and just kind of getting kids, you know, engaged in some kind of learning. I could see maybe that sticking around, but that's just my 2 cents. My one question, and you do not need to answer it now, but at some point, how are you going to assess or evaluate your plan as you go? So, and yeah, you don't have to. I'm just at some point would like to just hear how you plan on doing that.
So that's part of our requirement is that we have a strategy that we have to write. So this is believe it or not, I know I spoke a long time and I tried to be as concise as I could. There's just a lot there. That's our little plan. Our big plan is much more comprehensive and it articulates the goals a little better around each of those buckets. And we will be reporting out on our outcomes as a result of the strategies that we put in place at the end of each year. So you'll be getting that. That's the phase 3 part of these recovery plans. So hopefully be able to demonstrate that to you at this time next year. Okay, I'm going to take that pause as I can move on. Are we good? Okay. So I would like to ask the board to make a motion that would grant me the authority to approve hiring throughout the summer. We still have a few positions that need to be filled here, and we don't have another board meeting scheduled on the books until August.
I'll move.
Motion made by Polly. Rick?
Aye.
Amy?
Aye.
Sarah?
Aye.
Mort?
Aye.
And I'm an aye.
And I'm an aye.
And Polly, sorry.
All right, next up, I would like to have a conversation with the board about administrator leave time. So throughout the pandemic, the leaders they've been working nonstop. There have been no vacations. They have not been able to step away. Even when they've tried to, you get pulled back in. So they really have not been able to use the vacation time that they've earned. So I would love the opportunity, because this is something that's a part of their contract, to bring you into executive to have a conversation about how the board might be able to respond in this unique circumstance.
So you want to discuss it when we go into executive at the end?
We could do both executives at the end. That would be fine.
Okay.
Sorry, I have shut the ringer off. I have turned the volume down and it's still not working.
There is a window behind you.
What's that? Oh,
There's a window behind you.
Yeah. Next up, I want to have a quick conversation about the Monteith House. So you don't have anything going on in the Monteith House right now. It's currently empty. And we find ourselves as a supervisory union at risk of not having a place to be at the end of this school year. So there are some issues around our lease agreement in our current space that we're still trying to work out. And one of the asks that we have of the board is if that does not work out in that space, is the board okay with the supervisory union office moving temporarily to that space until we find our current home or our permanent home?
Is the space inhabitable?
It is habitable, and it is not very large, so we would have to we would have to be creative. I think one thing that we have learned through this period of time is that we have the ability to work very effectively remotely. So it would create a space for us to have a business office and some remote workspaces in the second floor so that we can have a rotation of people being both in person and remote.
I'm fine with it.
Yeah, I'm okay with it as well. I hope it's a non-issue, but if it has to become an issue, then it's there, it's not occupied, might as well utilize it.
We definitely hope it's a non-issue too. We've had in the back of our mind that if we needed a contingency, that it would be that space. And we knew that this was the last time this board was meeting, so we wanted to make sure that your thinking was similar and there wouldn't be any objection to us moving into that space. Morgan, I'm not certain that we need a motion on that as much as a direction. What do you think?
I agree.
Okay. The other piece I just want to say is another thing that we have been exploring is, advancing the partnerships that we have with our local mental health agencies. And we've had some conversation around the need for some more intensive services in our area. And one of the things that the mental health agency doesn't have is space. So we have talked about that also being a space that could work pretty well in terms of advancing that mental health partnership. So if it isn't a space that's needed for the central office, would there be objection for us to look at that space in terms of facility use and providing some targeted intensive intervention for some of our students?
I'm okay with that. I think it sounds like a good idea.
Yeah, so my only question on that, would you want to look, do you want at the Monteith House, or would you want that part of your office space, wherever that may end up? For the supervisory union.
I think we're talking about a variety of different services, and I think some of those could be in the office space and some of those small group spaces that we've talked about.
Okay.
But I think that there are others that would be less conducive to that kind of space, other service needs. So we would come back to this board with more details if that came to fruition, that they really did want to explore using that space. So they would come to you with a proposal for what they would want to utilize the space for. That makes sense. Okay. I just wanted to survey for interest, and that's all I have. And I hope it wasn't that painful.
No, we survived. So now principals reports. I have Kelly, anything to add?
There is nothing to add. It's all informational.
Okay. Beth?
It was all informational.
Jen?
I did have one action item. It's attached at the bottom. It was a letter from Heather Masiak, and she would like to buy the chairs from the class. They're an old wooden chair that were supposed to be thrown out a few years ago, and she took them in, and we have the chairs that we can replace them with.
Has there ever been a request like this before?
I just want to give you a little more context. I don't remember a request like this. She's not leaving the supervisory union. She's been hired in Montgomery to be the pre-K teacher in Montgomery. So she is, I think you have a shed full of old wooden chairs is what I've been told, Jen. And
yeah, we have quite a few.
Replaced them with the plastic chairs years and years ago, because that's what most teachers wanted. But Heather really found that she loved the wooden chairs, so that she pulled them back out of the barn. So I don't think there's a ton of value to your wooden chairs. If you wanted to do something nominal, like, $20 or I don't know. They're not super valuable.
I don't even feel like we should charge for them, frankly. But she would just be responsible for moving them, that it wouldn't be our staff having to do that. But I think she should just have.
That sounds good to me.
Yeah, I'm kind of on the same page. Like, if it's gonna end up costing us to dispose of them at some point, so.
Yeah.
So do you need a motion for that, or just direction?
Just tell her to take them with her, I think.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Rachel, long time no speak at a meeting.
I know I haven't been here because of this. I do not have anything to add.
Okay. Joseph, he's not here, and Nate.
The only thing, couple things, our award ceremony was held on the 2nd. It just went live today. So if you are on our Facebook page, you can check out the award ceremony. And Thursday afternoon, we are having our senior barbecue and also the Sarah Downs send off. So if you want to just drive through and say goodbye, say a few words to her, we can't really gather. So it's kind of a drive-through card drop-off, but Sarah Downs has been at that building since it was built. So if you know her and she's affected you anyway, or if you know people that would be interested, we've tried to keep it a secret, but that's happening from 1 to 3 on Thursday. And the building stuff is really nothing to report on right now. Permits are up and site work's being done at the woodlot, but nothing's going too fast with that.
Okay. Thanks, Nate. And so that's it. Board business. So Lynn, you said August. It says we have a July meeting scheduled. I'm okay with August.
Yeah, we have that on there. That's the regular rotation, but the NMV board as well decided to take a pass until August.
We never usually meet in July. I think that got by me in the agenda development, to be honest.
Try not to meet in July. I'm okay with taking July off. Everybody else? I see a lot of head nods. Okay,
Yeah.
So we'll postpone July and move to August unless some pressing business comes up. Any future agenda items? Point right at you, Rick.
Oh, I'm good. I'm good right at the moment anyway.
SU board representative report. You're mute.
I put that on there because it was added to the NMV agenda, and you can choose to have us keep it there or not. There's a request on the other side that the people who sit on the SU board give an overview of what it is that is being discussed at the SU meeting. Just a 2 or 3 minute overview to keep the other few board members informed. So I don't know if that's something that you all want to have on this agenda regularly or not, if someone would be willing to just do a quick overview.
So I actually think it's a really good idea. Yeah, I do.
Would any of you like to take a crack at what we're working on now as an SU board?
So let's see, this is a test of what I remember. We have been talking about central office space. We have been talking about food service, and the decision was for Sheldon to be brought into the fold of our food service. We have been talking about facilities manager, and the decision, well, it was decided, it was discussed at the SU that it would make more sense to have facility managers in each district. So one for NMV and one for ER, but that's for us to decide at this board. but that was kind of the consensus, is that it would make sense to do two different. And that's all I got. What am I forgetting?
Portrait of a Graduate. Did you mention that?
Portrait of a Graduate, though, I feel like we're having the same conversations here that we did there. Is that right?
Maybe.
No? I feel like Portrait of a Graduate work. There's a committee that is working on it. I was not able to attend the first one. Yeah. What else? I guess.
I think that's a good summary.
Yeah, I think you nailed it, Polly. Okay. Yeah, I mean, I can't really think of anything that she didn't cover or that hasn't been written in the paper of recent weeks. So, but I'm okay with us trying to do this to just keep everybody informed as well moving forward. So do we want to designate somebody, or we're just gonna somebody
I don't
speak to it?
I don't mind being the little the messenger.
Sounds good to me. Everybody else agree?
It'll help me make better notes.
Okay.
I love to sign Polly up for stuff.
You and everybody else, and myself apparently.
Yeah, it's easy when she volunteers.
Yeah, exactly. And so as far as the central office, I didn't really go into detail, but a bunch of us went on site visits, went and visited some People's Plaza and the Pearly Block. And that's where we left it.
Yeah, so next up in our board business is People's Plaza, which I guess at this point should be taken off from our agenda because it's not going to be an option for us to purchase it at this point. The building is potentially going to be sold, I guess. So we'll just scratch that off and then move on to facilities manager.
So
discussion.
I think where we're at with that is the NMB board doesn't want to do the SU level 1. I think you gave me the direction last time to move forward. I just want to confirm that before we go any further, to move forward with an ER level position. Is that correct?
I think I'm actually opposed. But, and this is why, kind of. So I still don't know what this position would entail, so I don't really have a job description. And I think everybody who was part of that discussion last time had a different idea of actually what that person would do. Anything from, maintenance to advanced maintenance to project management. So I think that before we hire anybody, we should be clear about what this person should do. I also, as part of that SU board meeting, I think Polly brought it up, so we kind of asked a little bit, what they thought of the person they hired. And my interpretation of what was said was a little bit mixed. One person kind of thought it was the greatest thing, and another representative thought that they weren't quite sure of what this person actually was doing, and they were going to get some more, kind of follow what this person was doing and how they were impacting the actual operation of their schools. Also, in my mind, a little bit, it's not that it's a bad idea to do this, but I think there are other places where we might want to spend money than this position. And granted, I think we've kind of muddled through it. I'd almost like to continuing muddling through it. I think the worst thing that can happen is that we end up with a whole bunch of projects all at once that need to be done immediately. but I would like to take a crack at it with our subcommittee, facilities subcommittee at the board level, and see how we manage with that. And if we get overwhelmed or it becomes too hard to prioritize where we need to put money, then I think looking at a facilities manager at that point in time makes sense to me. I do think that there's probably some difference in at the principal level on comfort. And I guess what I would ask is that those principals who feel more comfortable with the building aspect of stuff either reach out, or people who feel less comfortable reach out the other way and just ask for a little help if they have some projects that they don't know what to do. But that's kind of where my thinking is at this point in time.
So when you say subcommittee, are you talking about subcommittee to develop a job description, or are you talking about subcommittee to actually prioritize projects?
Muted.
I'm muted again.
You're good now.
So yeah, I'm talking about a subcommittee that would actually prioritize projects. You know, so the subcommittee would meet, you know, I don't think it would have to meet that often really to do that, but meet with the principals or probably head custodians or whatever, and come up with a list of things that need to be done in a certain period of time, and we can prioritize that and present it to the full board is kind of what I had in my mind. But I'm certainly open to further discussion about it. It's just kind of what my line of thinking has been on this for the last month.
So Rick, I just want to say something to be fair to the NMV position. We hired this person. I'm going to take responsibility for some of this because we hired this person in the most inopportune time possible, in the middle of the pandemic, when all of us had our pants on fire and had not enough time to focus in on clearly defining the work and the responsibilities. So one of the things that we're really committed to is taking the job description that was developed. And I agree 100% with you about the need to be clear about the job description before you proceed. But we haven't put any effort into trying to do that because we haven't had a direction about whether or not this was even something that we wanted to imagine yet. So there's a VSA/VisBit opportunity for facilities directors. I think it's a 1 or 2 year training opportunity. So that's something that we would want both the person on the ER side and the NMV side to attend, to be able to build their skills and their capacities as facilities directors. There are some pretty clear, we have some models of job descriptions from other places who have been doing this work for much longer that we have kind of set aside as templates to advance the one that we created. So I hear you that the thinking wasn't all the way there on that. And I think that just to understand the other piece, I mean, I'm fine with whatever the board decides to do. I think that the other piece is principals weighing in on some of the job description, some of the opportunities that it would help if these things came off their plates, for example. And I also think that it would be, there's no one that has, like you said, you could do it through the committee of the board. There's no one right now that kind of has the ability to have oversight over even the 3 Enosburg buildings. Richford has that middle position with Jerry between the elementary and the high school, but there's no like in Enosburg. So that's really what centered me on bringing this conversation back is nobody's really looking at the good of the whole there. So I think your proposal is that the board plays that facility manager role in the interim before we go down this path, is I think what I'm hearing.
Yeah, and it's not so much a facility manager position, but it's more of a prioritization on capital improvements or, you know, repairs and that kind of stuff. Or at least that's my perspective anyway, is that, and that's from a board, that's really what we need, I think, and that we don't have, that a facilities manager could give us, you know. And again, I'm looking at it from a board perspective, you know. So, and the other thing is maybe we didn't ask the people on the NMB side, we never asked the principals, we just asked board members kind of what they thought, so it would be interesting to get input from principals on the NMD side as well. But those are just my thoughts over the last month because I've been thinking about this.
I totally agree with wanting a job description and like really hiring the type of person that we want for this. So I'm fine being there. I don't know if I feel comfortable prioritizing just because, I mean, if we're basically going to be kind of like the judge and jury and everybody's needs are their needs, right? And so I don't know if I'm equipped to sort through those. But that's just my opinion.
Yeah, so I actually think that's part of our job is prioritizing needs. Do we, and so this is actually a perfect example, right? Do we hire a early reading specialist, or do we hire a facilities manager? So, and I think that with the portrait of grad and the equity work we're trying to do, I just think that there are other places that we might want to spend money than a facilities manager. But again, it's just my thinking.
I think when I think about it though, that with a sometimes uneven distribution of personnel across buildings, that this responsibility can fall on administrators and we need them to be prioritizing much different things. No, you cannot, sorry. We need to allow them to put that to someone else, and that I don't know that we have that capability in all the buildings, nor do I know if it's the board's role to sort of, it's the day-to-day stuff too that I worry about a little bit.
Yeah, and again, I think this gets us back to the job description, right? So what does this person do, right? I mean, so does this person change light bulbs or, does it manage projects? And I think that, I honestly think that there's some heads of buildings that like managing their own projects, so, do we hire somebody and not have them do all the projects? So I think that if we do hire this person, I really think that we need to get all our principals together and find out what they need and want and come to a consensus at that level before we do this.
I think that's a fair position. I can get behind the fact that we need to go down the process a little bit more before we make an actual decision, but we need to have a lot more clarity before we can even have the conversation of whether it's something we want to support.
Yeah, I'm behind define that job description and get it cut and dry. I know, I feel, I shouldn't say I know, I feel that this position would help our principals take a big burden and load off from their plates. So I think I can support the position, but I just need clarity and make sure that we're getting the right person for the job, or that we're hiring, they know what they're going to be doing when we hire them.
So are you wanting us to come back with a principal informed job description the next time we come back together? Would that be helpful?
I think so.
That would be great.
Okay. We can do
Martin, Sarah, do either of you have any comments on this?
I think you're right. I think it needs to go to the principals and let their input and then come back to the board.
Yeah, I agree on that as well.
Okay, we'll bring that back in August then.
Yes.
Okay, so we're gonna skip meeting adjournment and we need to go into executive session for personnel, correct?
I'll move to go into executive.
Motion made by Polly. Rick?
Aye.
Amy?
Aye.
Mort?
Aye.
Sarah?
Aye.
Polly?
Aye.
And myself is an aye. And Sarah,
Aye.
Mort,
Aye.
Amy,
Aye.
Polly,
Aye.
and I am an aye. Motion carries. And I didn't touch on other under board business before. We're good, I'm guessing. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll make it.
Motion made by Rick. Sarah,
Aye.
Mort,
Aye.
Amy,
Aye.
Polly,
Aye.
Rick,
Aye.
and I am an aye. Good night, everybody. And
Good night, everyone.